for you all joining our August meeting this month. I am Tracy Newkirk. I'm the co-chair with Joseph Conway, and Joseph is in the mountains on vacation right now. So he is having a good time, and I'm going to facilitate the meeting today. I know we're all meeting on Zoom, and I can't wait till we can meet in person, but we seem to have a large audience when we meet in Zoom, and so we can bring more to the table. So that's really good and great for our collaboration. We started this year as an African American Business Council, scaling down our objectives to 3, which was exchange of goods and services, public policy, and media awareness. And we were ready and gung-ho to get started on those 3. And of course, the little thing called COVID happened. And so we had to pull up, and then George Floyd and other things. And we met with our leadership council and we wanted to make sure that everything that we did, we stayed with our goal of leading Black businesses to grow business growth through empowerment, ownership, and job creation. And that's what we felt like our 3 initiatives were, because when we have that Black business growth, those are some of the empowerment, the ownership, and the job creation that comes in our communities really promote prosperity in our Black community. And so after COVID, we met with the executive committee, and we decided we didn't need to change anything. We needed to stay on course that we were currently on, and which is that promotion of Black business growth. And we'd already been doing it. And so we now saw it as an opportunity to spend some time understanding what others in our community were doing to possibly align with our goal at that building Black business growth. And so we put together a 3-month program strategy. And our first month, we brought in the city and the county. And the whole goal was to see how we can build collaboration and synergies around our goal of Black business growth and how that fit into how others were, what their programs were. And so we started with looking at the city and county budgets. And then we went into looking at our national Black organizations that had a local presence. And so we met with the NAACP, the Black Leadership Caucus, and the BLM movement, and had them come in and speak to us about what they were doing, and were there any synergies and opportunities in what we're doing as far as building Black business growth in our community. And today I am super excited. I mean, very, very, very excited with the panel of speakers that we have today. And, you know, I want to make sure we pause. I know Natalie sent them an email and shared this with them, but I want to make sure we pause and take a moment and look at the number of Black leadership, Black individuals that we have in leadership in Wilmington right now, and don't take that for granted. And we wanted to celebrate that opportunity and see it as a great opportunity for us to look at how we support, how we can align, and what is on their agendas and platforms as far as driving Black business growth. And so if you look at the agenda, we are super excited to have New Hanover County, Jonathan Barfield, one of our county commissioners, and we have Tufanna Bradley, our assistant county manager. We have Linda Thomas in her new role. I've been looking for her on the screen, but there's so many I get. As Chief Diversity and Equity Officer. I don't even know if she's in the role yet, but she's going to be new in that role, and we're super excited about that. And then we look at our City of Wilmington lineup. We have Kevin Spears, our City Council representative, and we saw Clifford Barnett. He has a jump off, which is our City Council representative. Sterling Cheatham, our City Manager. Thom Moton, our Deputy City Manager, and Erris Dunston, our Assistant to the City Manager for Economic Development. And then we look at our agenda, our lineup for New Hanover County, and we're super glad to have Dr. LaChawn Smith with us as our Deputy Superintendent, and just really elated to have our new superintendent, Dr. Charles Foust, who's already started, I understand, getting involved in our community. And so we're just really excited with our lineup. And so what we will do is each organization, and I know we have some politicians on here as well, so each organization is going to have 15 minutes. I got to find my phone because we will have a little timer when you start. So when you hear the ting, 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 that means it's time for the next group. And so we're going to give each organization 15 minutes. to share what their platform is and what they're doing to drive and promote and help grow Black businesses in our community and within that ecosystem. And then we have left the full 30 minutes at the end because we knew how many people were going to be on the call. So we are leaving that 30 minutes at the end for Q&A. So if you have a question and you think you might forget it, you don't have somewhere to write, you don't have anywhere to write it down, just jot it in the chat. We will go back through the chat and make sure those questions are asked at the end. And we ask that you, and then during the Q&A time, if you have questions, just raise your hand. I think that puts you on the screen so that we can see you, that little button. So go ahead and find that button that allows you to raise your hand, and then we'll call on you. But right now we ask that if you put yourself on mute, because sometimes if you come off mute, it'll send background noise through the speakers that are speaking. And so if you put yourself on mute and just the person and the organizations that are speaking at the moment take themselves off, that'll help us flow a lot more seamlessly through our presentations today. And so we are going to start respectively across the line of how we called them out. And so we'll start with New Hanover County. And so we're going to open it up to Commissioner Barfield, Tufanna, and Linda, however you guys would like to present. And I will start the timer.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be here and share my perspective on the county's role in really helping businesses grow in our community. I have been self-employed in this county, working for myself since 1992 in some shape, form, or fashion. I've been the owner of Barfield Associates Realty since January 2001, been a realtor since 1997. And my father also, a self-employed individual. My grandfather owned a barbershop here in town. So I come from a long line of folks who have worked for themselves and provided for their families by the sweat of their brow, so to speak. From a county commissioner standpoint, I've talked a lot about equity when it comes to our budgeting process and making sure that as we spend dollars, it's equitable across the playing field. You know, when it comes to business growth and development, the way that we impact that is through our planning, our land use, our zoning, providing the right incentives to companies to come here so that other companies will grow. There's this phrase that a rising tide raises all ships. So when you come in and you provide economic incentives for a National Gypsum or for a General Electric or for a Live Oak Bank, and they set up shop and they start expanding, it's amazing how many other companies will come in to support those individuals and those companies and what they do. For instance, General Electric and having others come in that may be machinists and whatnot that will open up a company to indeed provide supplies for those corporations. And that's one way that we can indeed grow our employee base, number one, but also grow the base of individuals that want to start a company and grow a business here in our community. I've been pleased to see the number of organizations that have indeed made this place their home. Having been a lifelong resident of Hanover County, I've seen this place grow and change by leaps and bounds. I'm excited about Genesis Block, the fact that Tracy and Gerard are actually bringing light to the fact that there are a lot more Black businesses in our community than we know about. And I'm starting to see some of those things come to the front page as well. But from the county standpoint, if you have the right numbers in place, we can provide economic incentives for you or tax breaks for you. And what's required is really, number one, to meet certain thresholds, which may be having the right number of employees come on, invest a certain amount of money in equipment. There are different metrics that we look at to determine whether or not it will be a good fit for the county to provide economic incentives for a particular company. As you all know, we got $1.3 million in from the CARES Act, and we distributed some of those resources throughout to local businesses. And the first question that I asked as we started that process was, I want to see the makeup of African-American businesses that will get proceeds from this to make sure, again, that there's equity in how we resource dollars. And I want to say that 9 or 10 maybe of the 130 were African-American businesses that got money from the county. And maybe a little bit more than that, but I'm pretty sure it was 9 or 10. But again, making sure that I'm at the table, asking all the right questions to ensure that. I'm excited that we are bringing on Linda Thomas to the county, working as our Chief Diversity and Equity Inclusion Officer, something I've been talking about for a long time, as I shared with our previous county manager, Bruce Shell, and our current county manager, Chris Kudre, that Black people pay taxes too. And again, there should be equity in how we spend our dollars when we look at our budget. And looking at our budget, back in 2011, when I was chairman of our board the first time, I led our county in putting together a strategic planning session. And it's kind of crazy that our county had not done a strat plan in almost 20 years prior to that. And I couldn't imagine a county government running itself and not having a visioning document or something to guide it by. And so now when you look at our budget and where resources are going, everything is tied to our strat plan. And so again, as we bring Linda Thomas on, and we started this prior to her coming on, but really it's going to be a strong focus to make sure as we deploy dollars from our county budget, that you're going to see those dollars deployed in different parts of our community as well, whether it's nonprofits, whether it's helping businesses start, whether it's working with our school system or our community college system to make sure that, you know, all people are at the table and being able to benefit from what the county is doing. With that, I'm going to be quiet, and I see our awesome Assistant County Manager, Tufanna Bradley's online. Looking forward to hearing her thoughts as well.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Barfield. And just a correction, is Linda Thompson?
Thompson, not Thomas. there is a Thomas, not that Thomas.
My name is Tufanna Bradley. I am one of the Assistant County Managers for New Hanover County. And as the African American Business Council knows, I advocated to reevaluate and revamp our MWBE program for the county. And we have started doing that. We started a directory that's ongoing. We started outreach, but of course with COVID-19, that halted a lot of what we were doing, but that will continue, and especially under the Office of Diversity and Equity, there will be a very strong lens of diversity in everything we do in the county, from the budget to policies to our outreach. One priority of mine that has been since I came into the role and then was promoted to Assistant County Manager is advocating to the departments that I serve, that I manage, that it is important in the contracting process that they look at contracting with minority businesses, and specifically not just female businesses, but Black businesses. We all know a lot of times in that MWBE, it ends up being more white women, and that's great, but we need to increase the number of Black businesses that we are working with. And this will be an excellent opportunity to continue working with the African American Business Council. And I won't steal any thunder from Linda Thompson, because that will fall under her more as I transition to the Assistant County Manager over Human Services. I'm not sure if most people are aware that our Assistant County Manager, we have Assistant County Manager that is retiring. And so Kathy Stute is leaving. Her last day will be August 31st, and I will take over Human Services. And as I did with my current departments, I will continue to advocate and encourage our departments to contract with minority businesses. That is a priority of mine. It's always a topic of every management meeting that I have. What businesses have they been trying to do business with? That is a place where I, as a professional, can advocate within the county for Black businesses and minority businesses. I'll continue to be a support. Now that we'll have Linda Thompson, you know, we'll have a three punch. We have Commissioner Barfield, we'll have me, and we'll have Linda to advocate for minority businesses, and we'll continue to support the African American Business Council in any way. I encourage council members and people who are on this Zoom. The county commissioners have many commissions and committees that provide input from community members and assist in recommendations to the county commissioners. I highly encourage people to get involved, and that's a way to get involved with local government. And one of those committees is the non-county agency funding committee, and that committee last year gave out about $1 million. And it's important that that committee also looks at giving those dollars out with a diversity lens. So please get involved now. You can apply online. You don't have to print off the application and mail it or drop it off. You can submit that application online for non-county agency funding positions. I have an open door policy. If you have any questions or any concerns, you can reach out to me. I know Gerard and Tracy have reached out to me and asked questions and sought out what people in the county they could talk to about specific things. We are open and interested in collaborating and doing whatever we can as a county to support our minority businesses. And I'll turn it over to Linda.
Wow. They keep referring stuff to me. I don't all that they are expecting me to do. I actually start on the 25th, which is next Tuesday. And let me say, first of all, thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Tracy and Joe for the invitation to come. And so one of the things I've always learned is you certainly don't try to outtalk your county commissioner or your elected official. So I will echo everything that Tufanna and our Commissioner Barfield has already said, but I'm honored to be here and honored to see the work of the late Wendell Daniels continue. Because if any of you remember, Wendell Daniels was primary in helping minority businesses, especially Black-owned businesses, to thrive by starting a partnership. And it was at one of the meetings that he hosted with the hospital, I remember years ago, where he brought a lot of Black businesses together when the hospital was doing all the additions, and he helped walk each contractor through the process of how to get a contract, which reminds me that sometimes Black business owners just don't know. And so it is going to be important not only that we have opportunities, but in being equitable, that we make sure that everybody has the same level playing field to get the opportunity, to get the contracts, or to get the work. And so certainly I believe that's part of my responsibility, to certainly work with the resources that are there to help make sure our community folks, especially those Black business owners, know where to go to get the information. Many Black business owners run bootleg businesses because that's all they know. But the goal is to educate them as much as possible. So they know the resources, they know the vocabulary, the terms, they know the forms they need to fill out, and they're not afraid to do it. And so this is phenomenal. I'm excited about next Tuesday, starting this great work. I'm excited about helping to make the playing field as equitable as possible so that everybody gets the same opportunity to put in that bid and to get at the table and to have the conversation. So thank you all. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to learning more. Tracy's been inviting me to this commission for a long time, and I just haven't had the chance. So now there is no excuse. I am here and I'm ready to roll my sleeves up and work. And thank you all for your support. Thank you.
All right. Well, that is very surprising. The county finished and left us some time on the clock. So we will move right on to City of Wilmington and let you guys get started, and just unmute yourselves and start sharing it. We will definitely, I see some questions are already popping up in the chat. We will make sure those questions are answered when we go to Q&A. To ensure everyone gets through their time frame and what they want to share. We're going to move on to the City of Wilmington now.
I was trying to give way for Clifford Barnett to go first.
I'll follow you. You're doing good.
Economic development. And while our economic development efforts are a little bit different because I manage economic development projects and economic development contracts, it's very exciting to be a part of this group to start to look at opportunities in which we can help work together to help Black businesses. This year we were able to do some funding with the Y to establish a program for women and minority businesses, and that's exciting. But this is a very good opportunity. I think this is a very collaborative effort for us to reach out and get some Black businesses, especially in our downtown. We would like to see more faces of color in our downtown, and I think that's important. And I am very excited to be a part of this group. I'll turn it over to Mr. Barnett, who is our councilman.
Okay, thank you. Being new on the council, one of the questions I always raise is how many minority groups are involved in some of our business projects. And it's my desire, my goal is to make sure that those numbers are up. And I liked what Linda Thompson has said in reference to we got to walk businesses through the process. Because I agree with you, a lot of our businesses don't know the process. They don't know the steps. And so I think my goal as a member of the city council is to make sure that we don't lose a business simply because they don't know the process, that we help them to walk through the process. And so that's what I'm hoping to do on my end. Okay. Is Kevin on the line?
I am.
Okay. Pass.
Received. Good afternoon, everyone. My disclaimer is I am currently working from home, running school and running the daycare. So if you hear some noise in the background, don't judge me. My concern is that, and thanks for the invitation and opportunity to be here. I want to express my concern for the barriers, not only to employment, but to business. Also, I'll reference what Linda Thompson said about Black businesses, Black people running bootleg businesses, and the barriers to being an official business. You know, we wanna navigate those waters of being legit. We have many different skills, but until we're official, you know, we are considered bootleg. And so we wanna remove the threat of being official. You know, a lot of times we're fearful of taxes, we're fearful of forms, we're fearful of insurance and all of the things that help us to be legit. And so we want to be able to connect people with resources. We want to be able to remove the fear. We want to be able to help people, to assist people to become legitimate businesses so that we can not only help ourselves, but help the people that are around us. And Council, Commissioner Barfield said, Black people are taxpayers. A lot of times I look at the emails, and one of the first things that our constituents say is, hey, I pay taxes in Wilmington. Well, we all pay taxes in Wilmington in some shape, form, or fashion. So it doesn't negate the importance of our concerns as one constituent compared to another. So I just think this is a great opportunity, and you know, I want to see us do better for all citizens within our city limits and in our county. So thank you.
And one additional thing I thought about is I'd like to see, for example, the number of daycare providers that we have in our city that are quote unquote, you know, bootleg or not ranked to. They have like a 5-star system, and many of them are 2-star and 3-star. So one of the goals I'm looking toward is trying to help to equip them to become 5-star. And in so doing, you know, you're going to affect the whole community. Because if you can help with kids from that 0 to 5 age, you know, those first 2,000 days, it really brings a good future, because that's the basis for what everything happens in that 0 to 5 age. And so we're aware of that. Okay. Anybody else from the city needs to share anything? All right. Okay, Tracy, we beat the county. We were shorter than the county.
You definitely did. Woo!
There you go. There you go. Drop the mic.
I know. And we had 2 politicians, so woo, y'all got it done. All right. So now we will move to New Hanover County Schools, and we will have Dr. Foust and Dr. Smith present for the schools.
Well, good afternoon to you all.
Oh, hey there. Oh.
And I don't know if you're hearing some feedback. I am on my end. You are?
LaChawn, we have you in 2 spots in the meeting, so I don't know if you have a second device on.
I do not.
Let's give it a try again.
All right. I'm not sure why there's the feedback. Maybe if the, yeah, let me try one thing. Hold on. Is this any better?
I think so. Let's just give it a try.
Okay, well, I do apologize. I'm not sure why there's 2 instances of me in the meeting. I'm only signed in once. But I did want to start.
LaChawn, let me ask you this. Do both of you guys have are both of you logged in on a device in the same room?
No, it's just the one device. And it's a pretty fancy camera and microphone. That's probably why it's not working.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Maybe if I leave the meeting and just come back. Let me try that.
Okay.
So let me.
All right, well, while they are coming back, we did have a question that I think Tufanna may be able to answer for one. Love, peace, and joy. It has been difficult.
Just try yours. You want to take yours?
It has been very difficult for me to get my business linked with the county MWB program. Has not worked for me. Please help. So Tufanna, I think you said you contacted me.
Oh,
Share someone else may have that question as well.
Yes, Tracy, a lot of times, I'm not sure what the issue is with the link up. Sometimes it may not have the right forms. I've had people contact me and they've used they're trying to do it the old way instead of online. So I encourage them to call me. I put my number in the chat. If they call me, I can walk them through it.
Okay. And LaChawn, you guys just tell us when you're ready. I will just keep asking questions until we, that way we can continue the flow. We have another question.
I think we are.
Okay, well, good. I will pause and let you guys get started, and I will come back to questions when you guys finish.
Okay, so I do apologize for that. And like I said, we've got a pretty fancy camera in this room, and obviously that's the reason why it's not working. And just want to say thank you for the invitation. I do definitely feel honored to be a part of the conversation today. And as many of you know, I am the Deputy Superintendent for New Hanover County Schools. My role primarily is that as the Chief Academic Officer. So my primary contribution to the community really is ensuring that all of our students receive a high quality education, and that we are educating our students in such a way that they leave the school system, move into the world, and are best suited to pursue those things of their interest, whether it's to go off for a 4-year college degree, a 2-year degree, or to maybe even start their own business, or to connect with a company or organization here in our community or somewhere around the world. But I did want to speak to the efforts of the district as a whole to engage with Black businesses in our community. And so we have in the past had or hosted events where we have invited Black and minority owned businesses to those events. And primarily it has been to educate folks in regards to projects and bid opportunities. And I think it's been referenced several times already in this meeting, is that a lot of times people just don't know the process. They're uncomfortable with the process. They don't think it applies to them. And so we really just wanted to inform people about the process, what the opportunities were. Also to support people in building relationships. If you feel comfortable with someone, then you're much more willing to ask a question than if that person is an unknown entity to you. So really building those relationships as well, and getting people to be more involved. I think our last, and of course, you know, COVID hit and it just like an all stop to so many things. I think our last event for New Hanover County Schools was in January. And in that, it includes all of our operations departments. Sometimes our projects are large, where we're building schools, but sometimes they're very, very small. And then also at that last event, we included our human resources department, also our finance, well, our purchasing department, and then also our technology department, because there are opportunities that exist within all of those. And so that's what we've been doing overarching overall as a district. And I know we've got our board member, Ms. Adams, on the call as well. And then also we have Dr. Foust. And I'd love to be able to allow the majority of the time that we have left to Dr. Foust to speak, and maybe, you know, though he's not even officially having started with us, but to speak about his vision and what he would like to maybe be seen in this area, and then anyone else representing the district on the call today as well. And so I'll give it to Dr. Foust at this time. Dr. Foust?
Good morning, everyone. I'm slipping a little bit. Let me bring this back up and twist this. So I am excited to be a part of the school district. I'm just being a part of the community. I think that's part of what we have to be as superintendents, as leaders of the school district, to make sure that we are graduating individuals who are able to be successful within the school district, whether they decide to go to college or whether they decide to take a career. So it's our goal to make sure that we are creating equity, and when I say equity, towards our students, meaning specifically that we have to make sure that our students can read on grade level, making sure that they can do math on grade level, that they have the zeal, I'll use the word zeal, that's needed in order to be, if they're wanting to be a business partner, if they want to be a business owner, or whatever the direction they're going. I've just been an advocate of, it's not my job to tell students where or what they can do. We're supposed to teach them and provide them with the accesses that are needed in order for them to take the field of whatever they choose to do so. So I'm sure you've read, I'm an educator for about 21, 22 years. Started off as an elementary education major at North Carolina. I graduated from North Carolina A&T State University with a major in elementary ed and a minor in English. Throughout those years, I did teach elementary school students at 4th grade and 5th grade. I tutored in algebra and geometry. There's a long story that goes to the math. And then went on back to, I also have a master's degree in instructional technology, business and industry. So I did an internship while I was working on my master's at the chamber, and was into web design, computer programming, those types of things. That's where the math part comes in. And I thought back in Y2K era that I was going to be a computer programmer, and the educational field drew me back. And so then I went on to Chapel Hill. And so if there are any Tar Heel fans out there, go Tar Heels, and got a master's in school administration, became principal, and worked in Guilford County for several years and then moved on to Houston, and then became a superintendent. So I love education. I believe that education is the way out of poverty. I believe that once you have an educational platform and you can do things and you can, I'd say, read on grade level, there's nothing that anyone can do to stop you. So we're here, of course, to make sure that students are successful. We're here to make sure that we can, make sure that if there are businesses that can support our school district, or we can support the school district, that we can have those conversations. And we want to make sure that they are getting opportunity. And that's what it is. It's all about having the opportunity. And if we can't give opportunity, then we're actually not a community. So again, I thank you for allowing me just to be a part of your meeting. And of course, I will read more and find out more and look forward to meeting with individuals who are on this call. And I just thank you for just a warm welcome. And Natalie, thank you so much for assisting us with the realtor. It has been good just to be able to walk in day one. And I think it was the commissioner who called me on the first day. I think we're fraternity brothers. So we'll have to talk about that. It's just been a warm welcome to the city. And I can't thank you enough for how you've treated me. And when I say treat me, you've treated my family. And so we look to be here for a long time. And so we'll get to know all of you. And, I can't wait till we're able to take our mask off. I do have it here in my lap, and I'm facing against LaChawn. I'm not facing her way. But I want to thank you again. Together we can is what I want to say. Together we can do this. So thank you.
I know they left time for any other, I know Stephanie, you're on, or any other board member or person with the county, they left the school system, they left some time. So if you want to take some of that.
I would just echo the things that Dr. Foust said. I'm so excited to have him here starting in a couple weeks, and we're really looking forward to a new trajectory for the system, building on the things that we're doing well and working on the things that we need to improve on. I do want to just address Dr. Smith and just thank her. She's been leading a lot of the equity work in New Hanover County Schools for about 2 years, and there have been some major just projects and programming that has come out of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Work Group and the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Board Committee. And we're working with the community, we're working with our educators, and I just thank her, from implicit bias training to book studies to cultural competency conversations. She's just done an amazing job of helping to raise awareness for all of our educators, and we are working with HR to make sure that our employees reflect our student population, because right now it doesn't, and so we want to make sure that we work towards that. So just a lot of great work going on in the district, and we are so excited to continue that work with Dr. Foust as we move forward.
All right, so we will now, this is our time, we'll open it up for Q&A. The ones who have so patiently put their questions in, I'll go ahead and get those questions out of the chat. And if you do have questions, you can start raising your hand. And I think that moves you up to the top of the screen. If not, if Natalie and Jill and Megan can help me with hands that are raised, I would really appreciate that. We'll start, Julie Wilsey's question: does the county MWBE tie into the North Carolina DOT certification as well? I think Tufanna might have said something about that in the chat, but if Tufanna, you'll share for the group, that would be great. Did we lose Tufanna? I see her. Oh, there you are.
Yes. Sorry, I'm getting ready to go into another meeting. It does not tie into the state certification, but it does help. We encourage businesses to get state and federally certified. It does help them because it helps them to start preparing proper paperwork. And we have partnered with Ken Whedon and Associates to bring training. There was actually a training at the Northeast Library to help local businesses with that process. So it doesn't necessarily tie in or make it easier for them to become state certified, but it does prepare them. And we always encourage them, because the more certifications, the more work they can get, which makes a better local economy for us.
All right, and so I've been notified by Megan that we do have a hand raised. And so I will Gerard Newkirk, he has a question.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, everybody, for joining us here. My question, it kind of relates to what we're doing at Genesis Block as far as building the entrepreneur class for minority entrepreneurs. And as Linda Thompson, I think, stated, and someone else stated earlier on, the education of the entrepreneurs and the small business owners is paramount. A lot of the pairing that we're trying to do as far as with contractors and prime contractors is making sure that they have the skill set and the capacity in order to be able to perform the job well. So I guess what I'm asking from our local government officials especially is, how can you help us build an ecosystem of support to have a clear pathway for minority business owners, all the way from the 0 to 5 with programs until the next level, 5 to 18, and then as they graduate from college and may want to take more of an entrepreneurial path, how can we work together and collaborate in order to build ecosystems similar to places like Greenville, South Carolina, Charleston, Nashville stands out, and also even places like Greenville, North Carolina, where the city has come in and the county have come in collectively to work towards helping support incubator programs, accelerator programs, and kind of being on the front lines with large corporations to make sure that there's an opportunity for the local businesses and entrepreneurs to become subcontractors.
I'd like to address that. And perhaps I think one of the things that we're going to do.
Anybody want to chime in?
I do.
Okay.
Okay. One of the things that we did last night, we passed this, major law to put up the Black Lives Matter sign, and one of the things that Kevin and I and many people on the council have said is that that's just a sign. What really has to happen is that we have to do things like you're suggesting, and we have to make sure that we have policies and people in place to make sure that everybody gets a fair share at the table. So the thing that I will be very strong with is making sure that everybody has a place at the table, so that we do get people there. I love the idea of the incubator. I love the idea of preparing people. And that's why I made the statement earlier that we don't want a minority company to lose a project simply because they didn't know how to fill out the form, or they weren't prepared. We want to make sure that they're prepared when they come to the table, so that we can honestly say, yes, we want to use you. So that's just my commitment. That's what we're really about.
And I was chime in, Tracy. One of our biggest partners is Cte Community College. From a county standpoint, we fund them to the tune of roughly $28 million between operational costs and debt service. We also have a commissioner that sits on the board of trustees. I also serve on the board of trustees there as well. And they have launched many entrepreneurial projects or opportunities, whether it be working as a lineman, figuring out how you start your own small business. They've got great programming there that I think will be a great asset to any small business owner. I know that when I first moved back to Wilmington, I took a small business, a business law class at Cte Community College, just to really understand some of the legal aspects of what I was getting into as a small business owner, and then linking with others that were pretty much in the same field as well.
Gerard, I just wanted to say that I certainly agree with what's been said, but I think one of the ways the government can certainly help, we have become really comfortable with social media, television, I'm from the old school. I believe sometimes you got to get out and go see people. And I know that COVID has certainly limited our access to one another, but having a conversation in the barbershop, having a conversation in the beauty salon with my mask on, going into these rural communities in areas where people just don't have access to technology, Zoom, the internet, going to just the basics and sitting down talking to that carpenter that's posting stuff on social media about he can fix your bathroom, but he doesn't have the credentials or the insurance, and helping him, guiding him to the right place. And so I think we're going to have to stop using the traditional ways and stop being lazy and get up and get out and go talk face to face with people. Technology is wonderful, but there is nothing like learning how to talk face to face with people. When we are able to engage them in a conversation, see where their shortcomings are and weaknesses, and certainly looking at equitable policies across the board, but being able to have a conversation face to face in the most unusual places. Arming and equipping our pastors with information so from the pulpit, they can begin to encourage entrepreneurship, proper entrepreneurship, how to start up. I think thinking out of the box like those cities you've mentioned is certainly great, but I think we're gonna have to come from behind our desk and go out and just knock on some doors, walk up in some places. I went and got one of the best chicken sandwiches in the world from somebody that was selling them out of their house. And I told them, you know, you're not supposed to be doing this, but they were like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And so immediately, here, let me show you. Come on, let me show you where to go to get your information, because I want you to share this chicken sandwich with as many people as you can. And I don't want you to get shut down. And I don't want to get contaminated from what I'm eating. I want you to do it right, because you've got a skill, you've got a talent, and everybody should be able to share it with you. So certainly that face-to-face one-on-one interaction and talking, and certainly bringing innovative ideas right here in our community.
Ms. Linda, you can send them to Genesis Block.
Okay, so do we have another hand? But if not, I'm gonna read a question. Commissioner, is that?
Cliff is fine, Cliff is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, Cliff is fine too, that's my name. Question, I think, for our new superintendent, and, you know, first of all, I'm glad that you're here, Dr. Foust, thank you for coming. And I'm gonna blame you for the internet interference that you had in the office. I'm just gonna do that, because that's just the kind of person I am. But my question is, and I heard you talk with, when you were on the TV about early childhood interventions. What's your thoughts about helping with that, like that 0 to 5 age? Because we know that's so critical.
It is. Those are the foundational years. So I was actually out yesterday at one of our pre-K centers, and those are some of the things I was asking. So it's all about reading. So reading starts with letter recognition, and we call it one-to-one correspondence. And so that means, can you make the sound of the letter? Can you point to the letter? Those types of things. So those foundational years. So I honestly believe that we need all of our kids who are going, if they're in a pre-K center, they should know the sounds of those letters, all 52. And so we say 52 because we say uppercase and lowercase prior to getting to kindergarten. And so when we have our home daycares, that's the other thing, is like, we want to make sure that we are providing them a rigorous instructional routine that provides them with the same that we would give them at the school, so that the introduction to school is much easier. I know the social emotion, we want to make sure they know the sharing, those types of things, but reading is key. It is key. And some of the things that we've done in the past with the reading is showing parents what the expectation is for reading. It's not necessarily having the kid read to you, but it's also having the younger ones having the parents read to the children, and adopting at least a 30-minute uninterrupted time of reading. And so we need to get that word out. And so we will do more about that literacy, because again, literacy is my background. I don't always talk about my background in literacy, but yes, that's one of my backgrounds. So all over it. Sound, letter recognition, one-to-one correspondence, phonemic awareness, all those sounds, the blends, very important.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Welcome to Wilmington too. Glad to hear.
Thank you. And there was a question in the chat about VOTEC, or vocational classes. We do. Those are considered CTE, our CTE courses, and our CTE courses, of course, are offered at the high school, and we do have pathways, and we can direct you on the website to where those are, but students do still have the opportunity in what we used to call industrial arts, home economics. Those courses, they've just taken a different name, but we still have vocational classes, but it's now CTE.
Any other hands up?
Mark Lanier has his hand up.
All right, Mark Lanier, we're going to open the floor for you.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. On the track that we were just on, as the founding chair of Partnership for Children here in New Hanover County, I want to echo what was being said about the importance of Birth to 5. But turning to my university role, I just want to encourage everyone to use the university as a resource as well as the community college. CFCC does a great job, as Commissioner Barfield was saying, and with their SBC and otherwise. And I want to volunteer the university to do whatever we can here, whether it's through our hub office. And there's a lot of resources on their website there. If you haven't looked at that, you might want to. And as well, the work that we've done with the Minority Enterprise Development Week, and then with just our foundational mission of academic programs, as well as our outreach in the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, Small Business and Technology Development Center, Quality Enhancement for Nonprofits, the Swain Center, and we have several Swain representatives I saw online today. I won't go through the whole list of the way the university can serve as a resource. I just want you to encourage you to use us as a resource. And I'll be glad to be a conduit to the right areas if you're not familiar with where you need to go.
All right, I'm gonna do a quick question from the the chat. Grayson has asked, is there a complete list of minority businesses? We answered that. Oh, you.
I can answer that. The Genesis block is working on that.
Thank you, Commissioner Barfield. We are in partnership with Tech Mountain. I don't know if any Tech Mountain people are on the call today, but in partnership with Tech Mountain, we are working to develop a full minority listing and an app. It's going to be the Anza app. I think Gerard may have dropped some information in the chat about the Anza app and what we are doing. And so we are sending out some surveys. So if you're an investor, a consumer, an entrepreneur, or a vendor in the MWBE space, if you get a survey from us, please fill it out. It's part of us building the user story for the app that is being built.
Gerard had his hand up.
Gerard's hand up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. And then I'm going to ask some more questions. Good. We got lots of questions. All right. Go ahead, Gerard.
Yes, my question was related to minority supplier diversity. I know the city has a goal of 14% and the county has a goal of 10%. I know Tufanna is working on the MWBE program with the county. We're working on, because part of our work as I'm chair of the subcommittee related to policy for the African American Business Council. And what we're working on devising is kind of having a regimented goal or a best practices for the city, for the county, that we can then spread to other organizations that also have minority supplier diversity roles or goals. So my question is, what have you guys done so far to achieve that? Do you have formal practices in place? And if so, how can we get a better understanding of that so that we can disseminate it to other companies that are in the region so that we can have a very clear, structured process in achieving our minority supplier diversity goals?
Gerard.
Yeah.
Tufanna is off the call, but I can definitely get that question to her for you.
And this is Thom Moton, City of Wilmington, Deputy City Manager. The city's procurement processes are under the auspices of the Finance Department, which is outside of my portfolio. However, Mr. Newkirk and I know each other from the City of Greenville, where I had responsibility for the city's NWBE program there, and we were doing a number of innovative things. I think my response to this time would be, one, I don't know, because it's not an area that I'm responsible for. However, I will be happy to submit that question to the responsible parties and get information back for the next meeting.
Thank you, sir.
And I think one of the things that surprised me with that, like minority groups, was that they actually classified a woman as a minority, you know, and not necessarily an African American only, you know. So sometimes we may say our numbers are up. You know, we do definitely try to keep up with how many minorities are involved in our programs, but they classify, like, if a lady owns the company, then she's considered a minority, which she is, but we're more so really specifying African American groups. So that's what we're going to try to look at as well. Thanks, Thom.
And just to chime in on there, you know, way back in the day, we had quite a few more minority contractors here. Thinking about James McQueen that owned McQueen Ready Mix. His company was one that poured the concrete for the parking deck right next to the Crestcom building on 3rd and Chestnut Street. Built several neighborhoods as well, but he was a true general contractor who was African American. His brother was, at the time, was our sheriff, Joe McQueen. But we have lost a lot of those types of individuals living in our community where you can actually bid on a school, bid on a county building going up. Those are the contractors that I do not see in New Hanover County. Father's built several homes, but he built homes under another person's contractor's license. A good friend of his named Nello Filippini, who was a great friend of his, but to have a true GC license, I just don't see those. But I see the county spending lots of dollars. We just built a new Health and Human Services building. We partner with the schools. We actually pay for the school buildings that are being built. They get the asset, we get the debt. And so we've built quite a few new schools here recently. We partner with the hospital with the things that they're doing when it comes to their financing, where right now, until something else changes, they run some of their financing through the county as well. And so we're always encouraging. But when you go to Charlotte, your Wake counties, your Durham counties, you see a lot more Black and brown general contractors in those areas that can actually bid on those projects as well. So I'm looking forward to, you know, growing that infrastructure here and finding ways to do that.
Gerard, I can speak to a little bit of that as well too. I just went to pull up some of the emails. Back to where we talked about, we had the NWBE fair for New Hanover County Schools back in January. Prior to that, Eddie Anderson, our Assistant Superintendent of Operations, had also spoken with Andre Brown, who was working with the State Hub Office. And some of the things that we had talked about have been addressed, I think, with some of the things the Genesis Block is doing, is about educating Black-owned businesses how to become part of that contracting process. So those conversations had started for us back in January, and then again, COVID, I think, just kind of wiped everything out. But it's definitely something that we want to focus on. We have the contacts. Mr. Anderson is aware of that and wants to continue that conversation. So we're definitely, as a school system, we've been focusing on that as well.
All right. Kevin S. Dick had a question. How is management of the small business loan fund going? What have been the results relative to businesses owned by POC, people of color?
Is that for the county?
Kevin, are you still on? Can you hop off of mute and kind of tell us which organization you'd like to respond?
I'm sorry. I'm here. Tracy and Gerard in particular, and Natalie, great to see you again. We probably met about a month or two ago. I'm Kevin Dick. I'm with the Carolina Small Business Development Fund. We are a statewide community development financial institution that lends to small businesses, especially with attention on loans between $5,000 and $250,000. Really the types of loans that large commercial banks don't do, but with an emphasis on borrowers of color, women, other specialized population groups. And so the context of my question is that I believe there was a new Hanover County loan fund that I think was being managed by a local bank, and I can't remember the name. And I just wanted to know how that was going in general, and also how well businesses owned by people of color were faring.
Commissioner Barfield, he's referring to the grant program that you all put into place with the CARES Act funds. I don't know if you know the exact numbers. I do not. I do know, Kevin, that the allocation of those grants went to a higher percentage of those grants went to minority people of color than are representative of our population. So we did better. The county did better, and it was in partnership with Live Oak Bank, but they did better than our population numbers. They were very intentional to ensure that businesses owned by people of color got a good share of those grants. Commissioner Barfield, I don't know if you have specific numbers to share.
I'm trying to find an email from my finance director. That was one question that I did ask in regards to the minority breakdown out of the 130. But I know that those dollars have been expended. It shows here that 82 minority and women-owned businesses were funded throughout the whole process. And it doesn't give a breakdown between Black and women-owned businesses, but 82 out of a total of 130 were minority or women-owned businesses that were given money. And it was a true grant to where there were no major requirements to provide jobs, this, that, and the other than bringing people back to work, so to speak. But those have been expended. There were $10,000 grants. Right. It didn't qualify.
Right. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
All right, we have another question. They did not leave a name in a private chat. It says, what steps are we taking to help teachers grades 6 through 8 to identify the students that are having trouble reading and then course correct them and get them back on track? So I'm assuming that's for the school system.
Dr. Smith, can you speak to that one?
Sorry, could you say that again? I'm sorry.
Yes, it says, what steps are we taking to help teachers grades 6 through 8 to help identify students that are having trouble reading and then course correct them and get them back on track?
Well, I'll tell you, that is a wonderful question. And I think Dr. Foust actually spoke to this earlier, just in terms of there needing to be this intentional emphasis on teaching children how to read. And so what we've done and what our work has been around is building out and fulfilling our obligation to all students for them to have access to a high quality curriculum. And so we're making sure that the content is present. So the next part to that is then providing teachers with training. So teachers now have the skills and the ability to meet the needs of any child that walks into their classroom. And then what we've also found to be a challenge for us is that different students at different schools were being asked to engage in different levels of tasks. So at a certain school, you were being asked a task that was on grade level that required a higher level of cognitive ability, but then at a different school, you were being given a task below grade level that really did not have any cognitive demand associated with it. So specifically for middle school, we're now implementing the reading fundamentals curriculum across the district. So we're standardizing that and ensuring that that high quality curriculum, which has been vetted in our elementary schools, is available to every student. So we are working to ensure that we're preparing students as we should, so they're ready for that next level of work. But again, as I said, we're also providing teachers with the professional development to ensure that they have the skills to effectively implement those curriculums.
Okay, thank you. We don't know who asked the question, so I can't say, did that answer your question? But if you ask it and if you have a follow-up, just raise your hand. Megan will let me know. She's been doing pretty good at letting me know who has their hand up. We have a question in the chat from Diane Jenwright. And Diane is asking, do Black businesses matter to the city and county, or are they appreciated or merely tolerated?
I guess I don't really understand that question. As a Black business owner for the last almost 30 years, I definitely speak to, again, our local governments doing business with Black-owned businesses. But for the majority of what we do, I just don't see those businesses myself. We're not buying chicken sandwiches. We're not going to restaurants on the regular. So I just don't see those businesses on most days with what I do. But I think that we value every business. And the comment that I made earlier is that a rising tide raises all ships, where if we can promote growth overall in our whole entire community, I see benefits for everyone. You know, whether you own a real estate company and you tie in with a PPD and become one of the real choice realtors that they use, where there are, I think, maybe 4 or 5 Black-owned real estate firms in our county. There are 2,600 realtors, and I think there may be 15 that look like me in our county. But those people are small business owners. And so again, you know, trying to grow those clusters, we look at attorneys in our community, we look at dentists in our community, CPAs in our community. There are not many of those folks that look like me to where our county can indeed engage. But I truly believe that we value every business in our community because they add to the overall tax base, number one, but also provide economic prosperity for the citizens that live here, number two.
When you talk about equity, but have you really addressed reparation? You know, you can't, it's an uneven playing field. So really getting to equity, you really need to kind of drill down to see, to really help the Black business get to a point where you can make things equitable.
You know, I look at how I started my businesses. No one gave me anything. I ran a very successful disc jockey business for quite a while. Decided I wanted to get into real estate as well, and but took every educational opportunity that I could to learn the business with the goal of having my own company. When you look at the term reparations, I think that what the county is doing is very similar to what's happening in Buncombe County and Ashfield, again, where we brought on Linda Thompson. She's coming on shortly, and having an Office of Diversity and Inclusion. And again, looking at ways that we can target our budget to where there's equity in how we distribute those resources. There also needs to be equity in how we appoint people to boards and committees. We just appointed our second African-American to the Airport Authority. The first person was appointed by my father, a woman named Shirley McQueen, back in the late 80s. And as I was shared with Ted Davis when he was on the Board of Commissioners with the Cte Community College Board, so Ted, always appoint a white Republican men to this board. And since I've been a commissioner, we've not appointed one person of color to Cte Community College Board of Trustees, and our county appoints 4. When it comes to the hospital board of trustees, I think there's 2 minorities on that board right now. So I think there's equity in so many different places to bring people to the table. And I often say that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And I'm always speaking to make sure that all voices in our community are heard, for sure. But when it comes to reparations, for me, that's what I see in terms of reparations, making sure that, again, there's equity in our budget.
The city want to respond to that, or do we have another question waiting?
Had my hand raised in the system, so I apologize. This is Thom. First I'll check and see if either council member Spears or Barnett wants to respond before I say anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with Commissioner Barfield that we definitely think all businesses matter, you know, obviously. But go on, Thom. Thank you, sir.
And I would agree with Commissioner Barfield. There are opportunities for us to look at, the city council yesterday took action following the art installation to direct staff to look and examine policies, practices, what areas are we investing to enhance equity, inclusion, and diversity, what areas that were we challenged where we probably can do better, then also to begin formulating a plan. And much like many cities and counties across the country begin infusing for simplicity an equity lens, looking at how those resources have been allocated. And they have been, I don't think Wilmington is unique, just like any other city, where you kind of allocate resources on an equal basis, equal shares. But now I think there have been opportunity based on what council has given staff to begin looking at what are the disparities, what are the needs, and then allocate resources where they may be a little bit more focused to address some of those disparities. And then to just basically answer the essential question, does the city value minority businesses? I would say yes, they do. And, hi, Ms. Jen Wright, you and I talked earlier this week, as a matter of fact, about your nonprofit. And so the system and the practices and the policies have to be in place to reinforce a culture and a value that begins to look more closely at how we're making decisions and then how those decisions impact the disparities that exist in our community. So yes, the answer is yes, but I think the council is giving us a marching order to come back really before the November retreat with the plan in place. And it'll just be the start. There'll be a lot of work to be done along the way.
And Tracy and everybody, I'm gonna have to sneak off so I can keep my other job, so I will talk to you guys later, okay? Thank you for enjoying it. Thank you much. Bye-bye.
We have, do we have any hands up, Megan?
I see no hands up, but I have questions in the chat.
I got one question that I haven't gotten to in the chat is Liz Carbone. I hope I'm saying that correctly. A rising tide lifts all boats, but not everyone is in the same boat. How can we make sure that minority, lower income individuals in our community are prioritized in hiring, while we are also supporting minority business owners? I feel like so many jobs are going to college students rather than Wilmington residents.
I'll chime in again on that one. Again, with the new offices that we're opening up in the county government, one of the main focuses will be on HR. No matter whether the city or the county or any other company in our community, HR would always be the bottleneck or the screening mechanism to decide who goes on to be interviewed. As I talked with our library director, Paige Owens, she said, Jonathan, we really don't have much diversity within our library system. And unfortunately, I don't see the applicants until they're sent to me from HR, so I can't go and pick and choose who I want to indeed interview for particular jobs. And so I think there's going to be a strong focus, number one, when it comes to HR, on implicit bias and making sure that they recognize that we all have implicit bias, but making sure that the playing field is leveled somewhat to where everyone has an opportunity to be seen for a job. As I've talked with our health director, when I see a disproportionate of folks of color being hired in our DSS versus our health department. And there's a great difference in terms of the culture at our health department based on the unequal hiring of individuals as well. So HR, I think, is going to play a key role no matter whether you're at Corning or GE or county government school system, whatever that is. Right down again to our schools. That I've talked for many years about the lack of minority teachers in our school system. And it takes people being intentional about that. I look at the hospital. I served in their board of trustees for 4 years and started their strat plan several years ago. Their goal was to be more intentional about hiring people of color, especially within the C-suite. And eventually they brought Andre Boyd, who's the COO at the hospital, the #2 person who looks like me. Now they have an African-American that's over the human resources department for the hospital, another VP that's there. To me, it's truly phenomenal to see those kind of things happen. But it happened because they were being intentional about making sure that they were interviewing a broad base of candidates, but also making sure that there were candidates of color in there. And we've all got to make sure that we're doing those kind of things. And I had the same conversation with our county manager as I look countywide at what we're doing.
Anyone else want to chime in on that one? I would go to a question in a hand up in the chat. Gerard has his hand up in the chat. Okay.
Big shocker, it's me again. This kind of relates to some of the applications that we're building for the Onza for Genesis block. And I was wondering if the city, the county, and the other government organizations, where there are gaps or where you see that there are opportunity for contractors. Commissioner Barfield mentioned earlier, we don't have a big GC that's an African American in the community. And what I was wondering is part of our skills training at Genesis Block is going to be related to preparing these entrepreneurs and small business owners for what the future demand is going to be. So I was wondering, with all of the data and everyone knows what the budget's going to be, what the projects are going to be in the next 3, 5 to 10 years, if we could set up some type of database where we know this information as skills trainers so that we can then communicate this with potential entrepreneurs that this may be opportunities in the future. And if that were the case, it could be something that could be publicly displayed or something that's of the public record. But I think that that is one of the gaps as far as low-hanging fruit, if you will, as far as the educational piece, but consolidating that information so that we can give a better foundation and understanding for potential entrepreneurs and small business owners what the opportunity to get contracts at the local level, especially.
I don't know that we forecast that far out when it comes to new buildings. I know that we had planned to build a new Health and Human Services building, but some of those decisions are pretty much made in meetings, and then you're looking at projecting out how long it's going to take to build those particular buildings and whatnot. I guess I just look back on my own personal experience here in Wilmington and the things that I wanted to do. And I tell people that if you see a gap, if you see a need, that's a great place for you to start a business and feel that void, so to speak. You know, many years ago, there used to be a typewriter repair shop at 5th and Greenfield Street. Well, you don't see people buying typewriters anymore, so that business went away. But at the same time, computers came on the scene. And so you see people that look like me that have their own computer repair companies and or technicians. But looking at the market and where it is and determining, you know, what's my skill set? What am I gifted at? What can I do? What is my passion? And then following that, whatever that may be, that will allow you to live the lifestyle that you want to live. But for me, it starts with a person's internal drive in terms of what they want to do. For me, I've known all along that I wanted to work for myself. My wife says that I couldn't work a real job, and I tell her that I have a real job. You know, I think it's going to be with that person having that internal drive to do whatever that is, and then, you know, figure out from there, and then put resources to it and try to find ways to make those dollars meet what their goals are. Hope I answered your question.
Yeah, so yeah, I was referencing, you know, having a better understanding of what the market is going to be as far as and I agree with everything you said 100%, but my focus is how do we build out and in our entrepreneurial ecosystem, we kind of understand what's in the pipeline. And part of this is planning, part of this is city and county planning, so that we can then prepare our entrepreneurs and small business owners for where opportunities might be, so that we can then yield some of our resources and some of our teaching and course profiles in order to accommodate that. But I completely agree with what you're saying.
We know that there's going to be growth in development buildings. The hospital is continuing to expand. Our schools are continuing to expand. County government looking at building a new government center on College Road. We also know that the marine biotech field is growing in our community. We know that the clinical research field is growing in our community. But we also know that manufacturing is growing. And again, it just really depends on what a person's skill set is and what they want to get engaged in as to whether or not they want to engage in any of those types of jobs. But I think all those sectors, and we did the Garner report several years ago, and we identified key clusters or sectors of jobs that we want to bring to our community. And one of those is within aerodynamics. And we're seeing some of those things come to pass now as well.
I also, if I can just chime in on that too, there's so many careers and opportunities that have not even been thought of yet, with technology growing and changing as fast as it is. So from a school system perspective, it's so important that we are helping with critical thinking and that entrepreneurial mindset. And so, I challenge every single person on this call, if you're a business owner, if you're a professional in any of these areas, mentor. We're getting ready to start a program within the school system called All Hands on Deck, and it's about bringing volunteers into our school systems. And our kids need to see what's out there because so many of them, they don't understand the types of career opportunities that exist. And you are doing incredible work in a lot of different industries that they may not have knowledge of. So share that, reach out. We want to get you in front of them. To hear what you're doing. And, from an entrepreneurial mindset, it's very important to think, I can start a business, but I don't even know what that looks like. For those of you that have done it, share your experiences, and then that feeds into our entrepreneurial opportunities here in Wilmington.
Okay, we are running close to time. And so I just want to pause and see if there is any more questions. I know I had one when I came in, and I still want to ask it. I thought we would probably have it answered. I know when we listen to the city and the county as they explain their budgets, and that was 2 to 3 months ago, one of the questions that I had at the end, and I kind of still have it, is that it seems like the budgets are very driven towards a dependency model of support, and we get it, we understand it, and I think both people that presented kind of shared that the budgets were really focused on helping our lower income issues in our communities. And so the question that I ask at the very end of that is, and I'll ask it again, is budgeting to me is just as much a mindset as it is a logistical project of putting funds in place. And to drive that mindset, and I know when we think about empowerment, supporting people to have their own business is the greatest way to bring people up out of poverty and give them ownership in their communities and empowerment. And when we look back past 1898 and look at 1897, when Wilmington was thriving and at its best, it was when we were collaborative as a community and we were business owners. And that was what was run out of town, a lot of the Black intellect and a lot of Black business owners. And so to look at the budgets and there not be any defined programs where it's specifically set to pour into the development and the growth and the maintaining of Black businesses, I would think that we could have broader conversation on how do we look at building an economic development program that focuses on that and in that way, and the funding is very specifically aligned to that. So that is, that is a question that I had 2-3 months ago, and I still kind of have that same question around that focal piece. And I know they say they go back into the budget season in November, and would really like to see out of that where there is an actual strategy for Black business growth and that there is funding aligned with that. I don't think that was a question.
Strategy. There's Beth Schrader, who is our Chief Strategy Officer for the county. I see her face is here with us today as well. If you want to add anything to that, Beth.
Sure. So, there are underlying strategies that we haven't necessarily explicitly shared with the community. We kind of share that top level map, but specifically around business retention and expansion, it's got to be a focus. And really it's a gap, particularly in our small to mid-sized businesses. We have really great economic partners that are really kind of tending the medium to larger size, but there's a real opportunity there. The other thing I would say is that one of the things we've been seeing with COVID and with the assistance and the impact that this has had on businesses, we're seeing a disproportionate impact. And I think that's part of that overall picture, when we look at these programs and we start to look at how do we actually address where the gaps are, there's some things that have come out really clearly as we've been going through this process that there'll be specific programs that we would love to partner with the African American Business Council to, and all of our community partners to help address so that we can help folks recover and grow, because we want to keep them here and we want to help Black businesses grow. And so part of this is being framed, it's, you know, part of it is being framed in terms of recovery and resilience. And so, you know, I would love to continue that conversation. You know, we can definitely talk about that.
You know, I'll chime in a little bit. You know, city budgets and county budgets are very different because of our roles and our mandates. Roughly 82% of our budget is mandated how we're going to spend it by either the state or federal government. So we have discretion over anywhere from 15 to 18% of that. We fund 600 plus positions beyond what the state mandates within our school system. We spend about a couple $1 million a year between nonprofits and our economic development partners. There's not a whole lot of leeway in what we do with the majority of those dollars. But again, with our new focus being on equity and inclusion, diversity and inclusion, however you want to phrase that, that's going to be something that's going to be very transformational in Southeastern North Carolina. I'm not sure that there's any county in the Southeastern region that's even thinking about what we're about to start doing when it comes to bringing someone in that will actually head up that department and help bring focus and clarity to our management team, number one.
All right, I did not see, thank you. I did not see any additional questions pop into the chat. And I want to thank everyone for coming on today. Thank all of our guest speakers. I want to thank Natalie because she did do the process of getting in touch with everybody. I kind of did the other two meetings and gave her this one because connecting everybody on this space is a little bit more difficult. I want to bring up, we do have some announcements, and I'm going to let Natalie do those announcements, and then we will end for today.
Sure, and this one relates back a little bit to Grayson's question. As we're all trying to obtain lists of Black-owned businesses, one of the things the Chamber is trying to do is to be sure that we are classifying our members in whatever categories make the most sense. And so we have created, there's a sort of a member survey that you fill out that allows us to put you in not only the category of type of business that you have, but also if you're minority owned and which minority category you belong in, so that when Chamber members want to access and do business with other chambers members who happen to be of color, they can identify those businesses. So if you have not done that, please do that. I think Megan can probably put the link in the chat. And then finally, our Public Policy Committee met this morning. I see many faces that I woke up with early this morning, but we received a presentation from Dan Gerlach about the North Carolina Job Retention Grant Program. It is a program funded by the General Assembly, signed off on by the governor in July. September 1 is the deadline. So listen closely. If you have not received COVID relief funding from the state or the federal government heretofore, you qualify. So that means even if you got you're one of the 130 businesses that got a grant from New Hanover County, you still qualify for this grant program. They're going to guarantee 100% of those that qualify who fill out an application will get money. Now the money's focused on job retention. So if you do not have the forms and the payroll proof of payment of payroll, then you won't qualify. So there's just a couple of stipulations around qualification, but if you qualify and you fill out the application by September 1, then you will get some amount of money. So I encourage you all to do it, spread the word. It's nccommerce.com/JRG is the website. So I encourage you to spread the word amongst any business owners you know who may not have gotten relief from those other programs.
All right. Well, with that, we will conclude our August meeting, and we look forward to seeing you guys participate with us in meetings in the future. And please don't stop the dialogue. Please continue it, and hopefully we can find some synergies and additional ways to collaborate. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you for including us.
Oh, thank you.